Yeah, so welcome everyone. So let's begin with the. Let me quickly share my screen and let's begin. So hello everyone, welcome to the channel. And so here today we are starting the playlist of durable functions, where we will cover a lot more about durable functions and serverless models. So let's begin with the videos. Yeah, hello everyone. So let's start the video with the durable functions. So what are durable functions? So let's understand. So durable functions are nothing. These are just the extension of Azure functions. And what it does, it allows you to write the stateful workflows in the serverless computing environment, and where you can define the workflows to maintain the state across multiple function calls, and you can orchestrate the long running processes and the complex event driven interactions. So what is like long running processes? Long running processes, we can refer that the where we need to execute the code or workflow over the extended period of time, like minutes to days or even week or even more than that. So there you can use the durable functions. So like the many businesses has the requirement like the human interaction, where we are waiting for the approvals for our managers, or we have to input the data, then we want to perform that operations. So let's take an example where a manager needs to approve an expense report before proceeding. So in that scenario we can use the human interaction workflows. So before jumping into the deep dive into the durable functions, so let me tell you a brief about Azure functions. So Azure functions are the serverless computing services provided by the Microsoft Azure, and it allows you to run the small piece of code, or you can create functions where you do not need to worry about the underlying infrastructure, which means you can just focus on writing the business logic and just write your code, and the underlying infrastructure will be managed by the Azure. So like the scaling, patching, and the security updates and all those will be handled by the Azure. So if you observe here, we are using the serverless term in the durable function and the Azure functions. So let's talk about what is serverless. When someone says they are going serverless, or is serverless means there is no server. So let's talk about what is this.
When someone says they are going serverless, it means they are using the cloud computing services that allows them to build and run applications without managing the underlying infrastructure, such as your servers. So, in a serverless model, the cloud provider, Azure, we are talking about Azure, it automatically handles the server provisioning, scaling, and maintenance, which want you to solely focus on writing the code. So let's talk about some of the key aspects of serverless computing. Like there is no server management. What does it mean? Like you do not need to worry about managing or configuring servers, as everything is abstracted by the cloud provider. So there is one more, auto scaling. So the cloud platform automatically scales resources based on the demand. So there is no need for manual intervention to handle traffic spikes. And next, there we go with the pay as you go. So in the serverless computing, there is a pay as you go model. You only pay for the actual compute resources you used based on the number of executions, memory, and the time taken. Unlike in traditional models where you pay for the server uptime regardless of the uses. Like consider in the cloud you have virtual machines. You are paying for the virtual machines whenever it is up. Either you are using that or not, but it's up, so you have to pay for that as well. We have one more like event driven architecture. So in serverless functions, they often triggered by the events such as your HTTP requests, blob uploads, and the database chains. So like if there is something changed in your blob on Azure, on that time you want to trigger something, so that is the event driven. Whenever something event has happened, so on that scenario you want to call this function. So in those scenarios you can go with the serverless models. Okay, so now let me tell you how server-centric model works.
In the server-centric model, let's take an example of to-do application. We are developing an application. You will have one client which would be accessing your application. That could be through a mobile app, either an Android or iOS, or that could be any web application where you will have one API server which is responsible for accepting the request through the client, and there will be another server called the web server which is responsible for your business logic, and there you will have one more data server or database server which is responsible for storing and managing the data of the user or the incoming requests. So here if you will look, we have to manually manage the infrastructure of this application. So if the demand increases, you have to add more servers to scale your application, and when the demand decreases, you need to remove that extra servers to avoid the wastage of resources. So in that scenario you can just go for the serverless models, and additionally you have to keep your systems update with the security patches and all those. And one more thing, these servers either could be the virtual machines running on the cloud, or it could be either on your on-prem. So if we look into the serverless models, again the same scenario here. Again you will have one API server and the web server, but the database server. But what additionally is here, you do not have to consider the underlying infrastructure. It will be automatically scale when the demand increases. Automatically the resources or the servers, additional servers will be removed when the demand decreases. You only have to focus on the business logic. You do not have to worry about the underlying infrastructure. Okay, so if we talk about the most crucial aspect, that is you only have to pay for the time your code is running. But if we talk about the serverless models, here like we have to pay for the entire time, like your virtual machine is operational or not, because we are running up our machine, so we have to pay. But inside the serverless models you only have to pay the time your code is running. The meanwhile you do not have to pay if your code is not running. But unlike in the virtual machines, you have to pay for the entire time, whether your code is running or not. You have to keep up your application. So this was the very high level comparison between the serverless and server centric models. So as we will go more deep dive into the Azure Durable Functions, so we'll see how actually this happens there. So that's all for this video. If you like the video, do hit subscribe button and like my video. Thank you.